More nuclear, more wind, and more oil and gas. Those are three of the key priorities from the UK government's energy strategy, which is out this morning. It all comes at a time we're facing surging energy costs, and we're 6 months on from the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow. Tessa is a climate lawyer and expert on UK oil and gas policy. Good morning.
Good morning, Lucy.
Morning. Have you had a chance to have a scan through?
I have, and I have to say, Lucy, it's an incredibly disappointing strategy in that it's a real missed opportunity to deliver affordable, accessible energy to the millions of families across the UK who are going to be looking at struggling with fuel poverty in the coming months as their energy bills rise as a result of the increase in the price of gas. And the government has yet again decided to side with the oil and gas industry over the British public.
What could they specifically have done then in the short term, in your opinion?
Well, in the short term, the fastest way to reduce people's energy bills and to make their homes warmer and healthier is a massive energy efficiency or insulation drive. The UK has some of the leakiest, least energy efficient housing stock in Europe. And that is something that the government could roll out at scale rapidly over the next few months that could prepare people for the next cold winter we've got coming. And instead, what the government's chosen to do is to back these slow, expensive options like nuclear, which is, the only energy technology that's actually increased in cost over the last decade. And if past experience is anything to go by, it takes decades to bring online. And as I said, it's decided to double down on oil and gas, even though we know, as a result of the big report that came out published by the world's climate scientists on Monday, that existing oil and gas infrastructure would take us past safe climate limits already. So I think it really fails to address the two major crises that are facing us at the moment, the crisis of energy affordability and the climate crisis.
The government has to plan long term, though, doesn't it? And although these solutions would help in the short term, it needs to think 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, in that respect, the government's decision to increase its target for offshore wind is the right one, because we know that those abundant renewable resources that we have in the UK will form the vast majority of our energy mix in those decades to come if we're going to both meet our climate targets, but as I said, also take advantage of the cleanest, cheapest forms of energy. And that's what's really clear, I think, about the choices that the government has made, is that it hasn't taken those options that are available to it to put us on a path that the technology and the price clearly indicates is better for the UK public.
The government must have its reasons. Why do you think it's chosen to go that way?
Well, look, I think we've got a really powerful oil and gas industry lobby in this country. We know that the Conservative government in particular has a lot of links to the industry, whether that's through the donations that they take, the shares that they hold in the oil and gas industry. That is the reason why, despite still holding the presidency of the UN climate talks, and as I said, despite the advice of the world's scientists and experts, it's chosen to continue to expand our dependency on oil and gas, and indeed our dependency to the fuels that are underwriting wars, for example, Russia's war against Ukraine. It's really baffling if you look at it from all of the other perspectives in terms of the cleanliness of the energy as well as the cost.
This strategy does promise a lot more in terms of offshore wind. Is that something that you would welcome, or do you think it could go further?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's very disappointing that the government hasn't taken a similar approach to onshore wind, which is even cheaper than offshore wind, which poll after poll shows is popular with people. But yet again, the government is ultimately deferring to a small, noisy minority within the Conservative Party who oppose the development of that massive renewable resource that we have on our doorstep.
Do you think the Scottish Government is right to say no to new nuclear?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely, the evidence-based position to take, insofar as I said, nuclear is the only energy technology to have increased in cost in the last decade. We've had budget and timeline overruns with nuclear power plants that are being built in the UK already. And when what we have is an energy affordability crisis, it absolutely doesn't make any sense that that is where the government would choose to place its big bets. So I think the Scottish government is right.
We can't be totally reliant on renewable energy, though, can we? We need to have something else running alongside it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, there are plenty of models that show that you can have a functioning electricity grid that runs on up to 90% renewable resources. So we're a long way from getting to that potential. But the other thing is that the storage technologies and the other mechanisms to make sure that we always have access to energy, those are the technologies that are rapidly falling in cost and that are on learning curves that mean that they are getting better and better at doing the job of making sure that we have energy around the clock. So we have to assume that those are trends that will continue into the future, and that when we get to the point where we do have much more renewable energy in our power supply, that those technologies will have also matured. I mean, that is effectively the Conservative position to take on the basis of what's happened up until now.
OK, Tessa Can, climate lawyer, expert on UK oil and gas. Thanks very much.